So, can international students pay their own university fee here in Australia? Answer to that question could be yes or no, because it depends upon so many factors. But in this video, I will try to give you a reality check to this question, whether international students can pay their tuition fee or not, with some estimated numbers that will help you to understand the situation better. And I'll also try to give you some handy tips at the end of the video and talk quickly about my own experience of paying my own tuition fee here in Australia as an international student. So if you do want to know all this, stick around till the end. So when it comes to paying your tuition fee, there will be three main factors that will come into play. The first one will be obviously the tuition fee. The second thing will be the money you earn, the income, and last but not the least is expenses. So we're gonna look at all these three factors. And to make you understand all these things, I have created a quick spreadsheet that will have a look at each of these elements. So let's look at first of all tuition fee. So most of the international students come here to study either their bachelor's or master's. Some obviously come for their PhD, but the course tuition fee for the PhD and masters are usually quite similar. So with a bachelor degree, the duration is around 3 to 4 years, while the master's is around 2 years. For the bachelor's degree, the total fee is around $90,000, while for the master's, it's around $65,000. So if you work it out, on an average, the yearly cost for the bachelor degree is around $30,000 per year, and for the master's, it's around $32,000. And we are taking these averages. Obviously, your fees could be higher or could be lower depending upon the university, depending on the course, depending on the location and many other factors. But these numbers are just averages to give you an idea. For per semester university fee, it's around $15,000 and the semester is usually around 5 months. So usually there are 3 main semesters. We have February, July and November. Obviously it can vary depending upon university, but these are kind of 3 main intakes. If you want to know more about the intakes, we got a separate video on that. Please go and check that video out, where I talk about the worst and the best intakes to come into Australia. But wait until we finish this video first. Most of you might be aware that there are usually 2 semesters that you have to take in a year. The third semester, which is also known as summer semester, it's kind of holidays in that specific semester. So per semester fee is around $15,000 per year for bachelor's and $16,000 for a master's course. And if you want to calculate that on a monthly basis, which will be for 5-month period, it's around $3,000 for bachelor's and $3,200 for a master degree. And to make it even more detailed, let's make them into per week, which is around $750 for a bachelor degree and $800 per week that you need to pay for your master's degree. So we have divided them into different time frames, so you will have a clear idea on how much money you need to earn, how much money you need to save, how much money you need to pay for these fees. That was about the tuition fee. Now let's look at the income side, how much money students can usually earn. So as you know, from 1st of July 2023, the restrictions has come into play. Students who were working before or came earlier than July 2023, they managed to pay most of their tuition fee, and that's why we did not made a video about that topic, because they could work unlimited hours. But now the things have changed, so students have to work only 24 hours in a week, and the minimum wage is around $23.23 from 1st of July 2023. If you work that out in a week, that will be around $557. But wait, that's not the total money you will be taking home, because the chances that you may have to pay taxes on that as well. So on an average, if you work it out, it's around $50 for a tax, so you will be left around with $507 in your pocket after tax. And if you follow the same calculations for a monthly basis, you will end up getting around $2,000 in your pocket. If you do the same calculations for a yearly basis, then you will end up getting around $26,941 in your pocket. These numbers are after taxes. Now we didn't factor any holiday time frames here, because students obviously can work unlimited hours during those holidays. So usually you get around 12 weeks in a year, which is an average of holidays most of the international students get. Some may get more, some may get less. It depends upon the institution. So if you do a calculations including extra work hours in a holiday time, which is around 40 hours in those 12 weeks, based on those calculations, you can end up getting around $30,500 in your pocket after taxes. Again, these are estimated numbers. They are not real figures. These are just to give you an estimated idea. Now, obviously, the numbers we worked out was on a minimum wage. We did not consider any penalty rates. We did not consider any weekend rates and so on. And people could be working higher than that. that, let's work out a better pay rate, which is around $30 per hour. I'm not suggesting that it's very easy to find a job with $30 per hour for many international students, because the reality is many of them don't have a lot of experience here in Australia. So it could be a little bit harder to find a job. But just for the sake of calculation purposes, let's take $30 per hour as your pay rate. And if you do those calculations with including extra holidays and this better pay rate, you might end up getting around $38,450. And that is again counting additional holiday hours that you have worked 40 hours in a week during that holidays, and $30 per hour as your salary. So that's quite substantial increase. And I've done it for one specific purpose, which we'll talk about a bit later. So that was about the income side of the things. Let's look at expenses side of the things now. So with your expenses, you have to be mindful of your accommodation, your food, transportation, entertainment, utilities, and some other expenses. If we try to keep it very simple and minimal sort of expenses, and we have tried to be very conservative here, it's around $375 per week, which turns out around $1,500 a month, or around $19,500 for the whole year as your living expenses. Now again, your living expenses can vary, I understand that, but these are just averages to give you an idea. So if your expense is a bit lower, that is great news. So now we have understood our tuition fee, the income we could make, and the expenses we have to pay. So let's work out the saving first of all based on that $30 pay rate with additional work during your holidays. It works out around $18,950 for the whole year as your saving. Sounds good, isn't it? But wait, we are not done yet. So the next calculation is about if you are still working on a minimum wage around $23.23 and you work additional hours in the holidays, then the total saving will be around $11,054. However, if you do it with no holidays at all, if you work only 24 hours in the whole year at the minimum rate, that will be around $7,441 savings. Now when it comes to savings, there are many different scenarios here again, but we only choose, let's say, the best possible scenario, which is that you worked at $30 per hour and you work some additional hours like 40 hours during your school holidays. So looking at that calculation only, the total saving could be around $18,950 after taxes. And then if you calculate that on a monthly basis, that's around $1,597, which is around $1,600 a month. And if you calculate that on a weekly basis, that's around $365. For other calculation purposes, you can look at this screenshot that we have worked out average numbers. Now last but not the least is a reality check, which is the comparison between your fees for bachelor's and master's and the savings you have made. So if you look at this table, clearly you are having a shortcoming because the bachelor's degrees per year cost $30,000 and master's around $32,000 on an average, and your savings even after working at $30 per hour and working additional hours in the holidays is around only $18,950, and you can work out that you are still coming short on these numbers. And you can also check the numbers for semester and per month and for per week as well. Now looking at these numbers, you can get a clear picture of what you are up to, and that is the whole purpose of creating this video, as many international students get some wrong information from either through their friends or through their agents, and they think it's very easy to pay their tuition fee or cover all their tuition fee expenses here in Australia. Again, the purpose of this video is not to discourage you about studying in Australia, but to give you a clear reality check with average calculations as well. Now I understand that some of you might be upset about the fact that in this example or the scenario we have shown, students are unable to pay their tuition fee. While the purpose of coming to Australia on a student visa is usually to study, there are some students who might be able to pay their own fee. So what can they do about it? The first tips are in regards to your tuition fee. Now in regards to your tuition fee, first thing you should try to do is to look for scholarships. It's very important that you work on the thing that's most important for you when it comes to paying off your tuition fee, which is actually your tuition fee itself. So try to look for scholarships if there are any scholarships available. For that, I really want you to go and ask the agents that you are working with. Ask them what sort of scholarships are available at different universities. I have seen students getting up to 30% scholarship on their tuition fee. So don't hesitate, go and ask your agents about those tuition fee concessions or scholarships. Now everyone would love to study at one of the most prestigious universities, but it might be better for you to opt for a budgeted university instead of going for a really high-end university. That is something you also may need to consider when you are thinking of paying your own tuition fee. Not suggesting you should not study at one of the prestigious universities, but you could end up going with the second tier university or third tier university instead of going for the first tier. The next few tips are about income. Obviously, one of the things you can do is to improve your income levels. Minimum wage is around $23.23. It doesn't mean that you have to work on those numbers only. What I suggest you to do is to work on your skills and try to get some work experience, and especially the work experience when you get in Australia, that is always helpful. I also suggest you to do some short courses in order for your chance to get a higher pay rate as well. There are some specific jobs that may require to have a certification, a license that can help you to improve that pay rate. So ideally you should be trying to find a better job with a better pay rate. And during the school holidays you can work unlimited hours. So I suggest you to actually work additional work hours during those school holidays if you're really keen to pay your own tuition fee. So instead of working only 40 hours in a week, you can work even 60 hours, 70 hours per week. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is possible if you're really keen to do that, and obviously if you can find a job. And last but not the least is related to your expenses. So a lot of gurus will actually tell you that it's not only about what you earn, but it's also about what you save as well. As a student, I highly recommend you to create your own personal budget for the month and keep track of your expenses as well. How much money you are spending in regards to your entertainment, in other activities during the month. And one of your biggest expenses is going to be accommodation, so highly suggest you to actually go out and look for a shared accommodation. And last but not the least, if you can cook your own food at home instead of buying out all the time, that can also save you a substantial amount of money as well. Now last but not the least, I'll quickly talk about myself as well. How did I manage to pay my own fee? Now I come from an average middle class family from India. We didn't have a lot of money behind our belt to pay off all the fee by ourselves, so we took education loan for my studies. So the first fee for the first semester was paid by a loan, but by the time the first semester finished, I couldn't save much money because I was still new and I came in a pretty wrong intake. So the second semester I also took another installment from my loan, and it might be very surprising for some of you, but by the time my third semester started, I couldn't have enough money again to pay off the whole semester fee. So we took out another installment of loan, but the good thing was by the end of that term, I managed to earn enough money to pay it back that installment. And then I finally had a semester break, which I had after 3 consecutive terms I had to study. So I came in November intake, then I did February intake, and then I did July intake. And by the time I was done, end of October, I finally had a semester break. In that semester break, I worked really hard. I managed to save enough money to pay off my semester fee for the next term, and I also managed to have a bit of money saved up in order to go travel overseas to see my family as well. So long story short, during the time I was studying, I only managed to pay 2 semester fees by myself, and the other 2 were actually funded by the education loan I took. So I took a very long-term approach instead of paying attention only to the short-term earnings. So my focus was actually on studies, and I managed to only work around 20 hours per week. That was the limits we had, and the pay rates were also not that great. And I worked out that if I actually failed in one of the subjects in my university, I would have to work at least 2 months again to cover that cost. So it didn't make sense for me to actually take that risk of failing a subject and not paying attention to my studies. So I managed to only focus on the study most of the time. But as I said, during the semester break, I did work very hard and try to save up enough money for at least a couple of semesters. However, if I talk about a few of my friends, they had a really amazing time while they were studying here, because most of them were doing vocational courses instead of a university degree. So to give you an example of this, the cost of vocational education is quite low as compared to university degree fee. On an average, the vocational course is around $8,000 to $10,000 per year only. And if you look at the savings that you can make as an international student, you can easily cover that cost without a lot of stress. I'm not suggesting you that you need to change your courses to vocational education here, because I didn't change it. And as I said, I was really focused on a long-term approach where my focus was on studies and getting a best outcome, best job after my studies. While my friends did earn a lot of money during their study period, but in the long term, they had huge struggles to sort out their residency, and finding a decent jobs, and some of them are still struggling until today. So definitely you need to work out a plan for your own career as well to see which approach you really want to take in regards to this. I want to make it clear that the purpose of you coming to Australia on a student visa is actually study. So I would highly encourage you to pay attention to your studies. While it will be great if you can pay off your own tuition fee by yourself while you study, try to focus more on the study side itself. Now it was a pretty long video and I hope you find some value in today's video. If you do, please make sure to like, share and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on this topic in the comment section, especially if you're studying here in Australia. I'll see you in the next one.